2 minutes, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're going live now. In the next 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Oh, I love you guys. I so love you guys. Hey, and we are live. Thank you so much. It is the Kitchen Talks on a Sunday afternoon. It's Father's Day. Thank you guys so much for taking the time today, guys, for joining me today on this Sunday afternoon. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming to Open Mic Foundation, to the Kitchen Talks. And we're going to talk about boundaries and love and relationships. How awesome is that?
Extremely exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. I mean, we have our audience that's here. We have Adele that's here. Thank you, Adele, for joining. I appreciate you, sweetie pie. We have like about a few people that's on. So I'm gonna ask each of you to introduce yourselves. Tiam, I'm gonna start with you first, just who you are, where you're residing from. Oh, Simbongile is on. Thanks, Simbo. So if you can start introducing yourself for me, Tiamo.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Tiamo. I'm a recent graduate in the field of environmental sciences. So I was doing my degree in Pretoria at Tux. I also have started a page on social media called The Outpour. It's basically a Christian platform where we can gather and talk about everything spiritual and how to do life with Jesus, basically.
Okay, thank you so much. Joe?
Hi, I'm Joe, like she said. I am 23. I do marketing, advertising specifically. And yeah, that's basically my story. I'm about to start my own business, branching out into that, a whole new environment that I'm currently exploring. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. So that's me in a nutshell. Yeah, I'm from Kenya originally. I'm living in South Africa my whole life, since I can remember. And yeah, that's my story in, I guess, 2 seconds.
Amazing. Thank you, Joe. Cindy?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy Lair. I am a freelance photographer and videographer in Johannesburg. I have been in Jozi since 2005. I'm originally from Kenya. Currently, I'm upscaling myself with a degree in IT. And yeah, I'm excited to be speaking on boundaries today.
Wow, thank you so much. Photography, freelance photography. Amazing,
Yes.
amazing stuff. And
And
now you're going to be
videography.
studying IT. Wow, okay.
Yeah, so finding a way to combine the two.
Okay, interesting. Kosi? Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Cindy.
Hi guys, how you guys doing today?
Awesome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. My name is Khosi, surname is Mutsidisi. I come from I was born in South Africa, but I have two citizenships from Botswana and South Africa. I stay here though with my family. And I am currently in my final year of school at the Genesis Business School, studying Bachelor of Business Administration. I also work at iStore. Yeah, and that's basically it for now until I've graduated, and then from there I'll fill you guys on what I'm doing next.
Okay, awesome. A wide variety of, or like I say, diverse personalities, cultures that's coming through today. I'm just very interested to hear what you have to say in terms of, you know, the boundaries that the youth actually acknowledges and shares between, you know, the relationships that you guys have. And what are some of the things, you know, that comes out of these things? And, you know, having a different perspective from people and how they see things and how they address things is very different from the real world. And I just want to say thank you again for sharing your experiences. And I want the people to know what's on this call is that the speakers are sharing their experience, what they've been through, challenges and what they've felt and the emotions that they've felt. So I want people to acknowledge that and respect them. I respect you for who you are and what you've been through. and just coming through and just sharing your story today. So thank you. And we're going to kick off with Tiamo's going to set us up today, and we're going to go through it with her. So I'm going to give it over to you, and I'm going to encourage the people that's watching today on live to engage, ask questions. If you have any questions for a particular speaker, please send your comments on the Facebook chat so that I will be able to relate the comments to the speakers. If there's any questions, comments, please share. Please let's get interactive and let's see how this goes. So Tiamo, over to you.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, I was involved with this guy, and for a while the relationship was great, but for the majority of the time it was really on and off. There were times that, like I said, that were great, but he would do this thing where he is kind of distant, or then he disappears completely. And so for a while I was like, okay, let's see how things go. You don't want to scare someone off. But then after some time, being the person who knows what they're about, knows who they are, I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is set the boundary and say, look, I can't deal with this. Something needs to change. And the first time, I brought that up, he said, okay, cool, but then after not too long, maybe a couple weeks, things went back to how, they were before. And then I was like, okay, now I'm not gonna say things need to change. I'm gonna say, if this continues, I'm out, So I was setting the boundary. But when he continued doing what he was doing, what I didn't realize was that I had set the boundary for him, but I hadn't set this boundary for myself.
Wow.
So I kept, he would come back and he'd, give an excuse or apologize, and I'd let him back. So basically, even though I had put that out there as, as a boundary for him, it wasn't what I had set in my own mind. So we kept on doing this whole back and forth thing. And the funny thing about that situation is I got to a point where I started feeling like maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe my standards are too high. Maybe, I'm just not enough. What is making this situation go on and on and on? And this went on for about a year and a bit. And, looking back, I see now that the issue was that that wasn't a thing for me. The boundary was for him, but not so much for myself. So even though he felt like he could, come in and come out, I wasn't like, nope. I said, if you do this, I'm out and I'm out. And, eventually I did leave the relationship. Eventually I left. But what made me leave wasn't the fact that he just kept on overstepping. What made me leave was the fact that I had grown tired. And, to all of you guys, I just want to say that you don't need to get to a point where someone is toying with you for years or months on end. You don't need to get to a point where you're tired. If you've set the boundary for yourself and the next person. And if anyone oversteps, then something needs to change. And yeah.
So it seems like you set the boundary for him from the start,
Yes.
but never acknowledged what you had to do for yourself.
Yes. So it was like, it's like if I were to put it differently, I'd say you're saying something to someone else, but you have earphones on with loud music, so you're not acknowledging.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy.
But you're not acknowledging what it is that you're saying, and you're not committing yourself to, ensuring that boundary stays in place.
Okay. That's very interesting, because it's not about setting boundaries for the other person.
Yeah.
It's about setting boundaries for yourself. Okay. That's very interesting, because we don't really understand what that setting of boundaries mean. Yeah. Okay. And this was a relationship that went over just over a year, you've mentioned, right? Okay. And what did you learn from that?
The one thing that I've learned is that, it can be a relationship or a friendship kind of situation, but if you put things like that in place, the moment something iffy starts happening, or the moment something that you didn't agree with starts happening, the best thing you can do is to walk away. Because after that, I had to do some real reconfiguration on myself. I had to build myself up again because, like I said, it had affected my self-esteem so much that I started feeling like, is there something about me that is just not worthy enough of someone actually staying and, being consistent or committing? So if I were to give anyone advice, I'd say, if you genuinely love yourself, not like a hashtag self-love kind of thing that we like to put on social media, but if you genuinely love and care for yourself the way you would another person, and give yourself advice the way you would another person, the best thing you can do is walk away as soon as you realize that you're compromising yourself in any way, shape, or form, because the amount of damage that it does is, in my opinion, not worth it.
I see the guys are just nodding their heads here, and they're like, I so agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's preaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
And sorry, but another situation that I had, and this is from a friendship point of view, was that when this was happening, I didn't realize that this was the situation, but I value friendships. I believe that you must be all of these good things: loyal, dependable, and all of that. But what I didn't realize, which I'm seeing now, is that in my friend relationships, I spent a lot of my time overextending myself, ensuring that people are okay, ensuring that I'm the dependable one, ensuring that everything that they need is okay, even if they have to come to me, and I must put my things on pause. And now, I think it was around December, I was doing some self-evaluation, and I realized that by doing all of these things, I had neglected myself a lot.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot. I mean, even I think anyone for that matter, I think more women, and I'm sorry guys to say this, but I think with more women, we tend to, we had another youth talk as well. We tend to look at everyone else around us. We tend to take care of everyone else around us, but we end up not taking care of ourselves.
True. That's so true.
And we also end up worrying about what someone else is saying. We end up taking care of the kids, the husbands, the spouse, the girlfriends, the boyfriends, every single thing, right? Our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our extended family, but we don't take care of ourselves. And that seemed to come a very strong message that came out in a lot of the other topics that we've had as well, is that we need to start, looking at ourselves first, and what is it that we want, and what is it that we need, and what makes us happy. Not everyone else, what makes you happy. So Simbongile sent a comment through you, Tiamo. She says, leaving doesn't mean you fail or you gave up. It means choosing yourself or your happiness or sanity. And that's very true.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we don't think about that. We feel, because what I was experiencing, what I've experienced is that you feel bad for leaving, or you feel bad for, leaving a friendship, even if it's been a friendship that you've had for years and years. Meanwhile, you're actually putting yourself first, and you're doing something that's good for you, but you feel so bad.
Yeah, that's, Simbongile is she's a phenomenal woman, and she was on the last Youth Talk as well. And she mentioned the same thing as well. Absolutely. We sometimes take it for granted, right? We do, we take it for granted.
Definitely.
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Guys, any comments or questions for Tiamo on the panel?
Cindy, go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say props to you for choosing yourself firstly, and secondly, that took a lot of guts. So top hat to you.
Definitely.
Joe, anything from your side?
On my side, I think I think it's extremely refreshing. Just to see somebody else, I guess, transforming in a sense, with regards to their own understanding of who they are, and what they want to be, looking outwards. So it's a very good position to be in currently. You know, it's a position of excitement, of opportunity. So yeah, that was my my biggest thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Tiama, are you in a relationship right now?
Yes, right now I am.
Okay, are you happy?
I am very happy. It's the first relationship
Well
that
done.
I've been in that
Yeah.
is actually nourishing. You know, I don't have to feel like I'm getting depleted. So it's very refreshing. It is.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's absolutely, to Joe's point, you know, refreshing to know that, you know, you've overcome that, and to Cindy's point as well, you know, that good on you, really good on you for doing what you needed to do for yourself. So yeah, thank you so much. Joe, over to you.
Okay. So essentially, I went through a certain relationship, which I was head over heels, and as a guy, you kind of don't expect that, just off of what society tells you and the narrative. You don't expect to encounter it, especially at, I guess, my age. So considering that, you know, um, the biggest, from a boundaries point of view, the biggest thing that essentially hindered us as a couple was that, we didn't understand, first of all, what it looked like in someone else's eyes. It wasn't easy to digest other people's perceptions or views of a certain occasion. Because one thing can happen, but there can be multiple aspects and point of views and how people feel about certain things. And you go through the relationship and you build on those boundaries and you try to understand the person more. However, it does get to a point where you kind of need to choose, because sacrifice can only go so far, until you have to essentially, I guess, reevaluate whether the investment is worth it in the end. So coming out of that, the biggest thing for me has been self-love. My biggest lesson is I had to learn how to love myself in order to love others. I learned the notion of self-love is a lot deeper than people think, but very simple. Self-love is really more in the saying no, and saying yes, and the no's to, I guess, to put it in context, but the no's that pertain to the small stuff in your life, you know. No, Joe, you don't, you know, you're worth more. I'm not going to let you do ABC, you know. I love you so much that I'm going to put you in the right position for where you want to go. And that has really manifested in my life from a work point of view, friendships point of view, because it's become a lot easier to give, and give without expecting anything back. And yeah, it's made boundaries something that I haven't necessarily had to talk to friends about, saying, you know, this is something that you've essentially gone too far with, but a kind of understood code without saying anything. There's a set understanding that this is who we are, these are our values, and this is what we believe. And I believe that that's put me in a great position, just in terms of my own personal growth. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's that was my experience, or currently is my experience with boundaries.
Okay,
And
so
relationships
Joe,
and
obviously,
friendships.
yeah. So I think obviously with having the relationship and having been, you know, head over heels with the person that you were in love with, it seems like you had to first understand yourself first, you know. And please correct me if I'm wrong, okay? From what I'm getting is that the self-love that you had to go through within yourself had start within yourself first before you could reflect, or whatever was happening with that relationship, whatever what the cause of that relationship was.
Yeah,
Is
no,
is
exactly
that
that. exactly that.
Okay.
I see the relationship as an extremely positive one, because I would have never learned that. I would have never grown to understand how to communicate with people in a way that's respectful, but I'm still able to show empathy and love and all of these array of emotions that we feel
Mhm.
without having to hold them back, essentially, you know.
Mhm.
So yes, 100%. I do agree with you. It's been the biggest learning curve.
Mhm.
It took me further than I expected. First of all, making the decision was hard, but once that boundary was essentially crossed, or that hurdle was crossed rather, um, it became a lot easier to see the parts of my life that I wasn't happy with, and the parts
Mhm.
that I was. I found myself more in love with the idea of being in love
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
necessarily being ready to be in love with someone.
Mm.
So it was a big shock to the system, to, I guess, you know, from a guy's point of view, to give yourself to someone like that and um, realize that you need to love yourself in the same way. I think it was extremely powerful to understand that. And yeah, that's yeah.
So it's you know, for you to have realized something like that so early in your life is absolutely fantastic. Not a lot of people get to go through that emotions and to get to understand those feelings and things, right? Leave alone you being a guy, okay? Leave alone you being okay. Um, I must say this is a first for me, and you know, we talk about a
Ooh.
first for a lot of things. It's the first for me for a guy at your age experiencing and acknowledging that you have already understood what self-love is. The fact that you're reflecting and saying to me that I had to love myself first before I could love somebody else. But I think the more interesting thing that actually is coming to me right now is to saying that I loved the person more than I loved myself.
Mm,
Mm.
And
yeah.
that there is something
Mhm,
that very rare people actually understand.
mhm,
Because when you give more love to someone else than loving yourself more, that is a
mhm,
huge acknowledgement in someone's life. Absolutely tremendously huge. And you
yeah.
being so young, leave alone being a guy, okay? Okay, leave alone being a dude, right? Is on its own, you know, one of those moments. But well done to you. I must say, well done to you, because to have acknowledged that takes a lot out of someone. It
Mm.
does.
Yeah, no, it was a journey. It was hard to understand. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, you can listen to advice from a million people, but
Yes.
eventually you have to drink the water,
Hmm.
smell the coffee of sorts, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a journey, but it's happy at
Yeah.
the end. You know,
Awesome.
it's good to see it. Yeah,
Okay. So tell me one thing that you've learned about yourself that you never thought of before,
one
if you
thing
care
I've
to
learned.
share.
Yeah,
Hmm.
sure. One thing I've learned about myself is my attraction to independence. And in all of my interactions,
Hmm.
I believe that more the more someone is able to depend on themselves, the more they
Hmm.
lie on their values. And I believe
Hmm.
that that's been the biggest lesson I've learned, because it helps you steer away from people that, you know, might not necessarily be the right people for you,
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
and find the ones that are. And time isn't, you know, on our side. We're kind of just dying every day. So I
Hmm.
want to use every moment to make sure that, you know, I'm spending it with the right people and talking about
Hmm.
the right things, having the right conversations, because
Hmm.
I want to grow, I want to learn.
Hmm.
And that has, yeah, that's been the biggest lesson for me. Just that um, identifying someone's ability to stand on their own, I think
Hmm.
speaks a lot to a person's integrity. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. No, awesome. I think, I notice sometimes when people do end up finding themselves and understanding who they are, what they love and stuff, you'll see your circle of friends changing.
Yeah. So funny thing, because I did a lot of research, you know, the the normal Google, how do you get over a relationship type of stuff.
In a few seconds.
But one of the things I did find out was that, as you go through life, as you do change, the people around you change and your environment changes. I'm currently in a point in my life where things are changing drastically, from moving to a car. Things are just shifting. So I was scared of losing my friends on that front, but what really, I guess, brought it home to me was that our values were always the same. So it's always been easy to not see you for the whole day or not see you for a week, and I see you again, and it's like we never, I didn't miss anything. So I found my friendship circles got a lot closer, a lot tighter. Realizing things about people that you've known for a while is shocking sometimes, but it means I guess I'm with the right people, because I'm curious and they're curious and we keep learning and we keep growing. I found myself pushing the people around me to achieve a success, and it's become a thing where we kind of just bounce ideas off each other, and that's really been the tempo and the mood of the environment that's I've essentially, I guess, tried to create. And thank you to my friends as well, because they've been very, I guess, they've been huge catalysts for that change to happen. You can't do it by yourself. So, yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. That's actually refreshing hearing that from a guy. Absolutely refreshing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that story. Guys, any comments, questions for Joe? You guys are good? Okay. Cindy, over to you.
Me. Okay. All right. So I wanted to explore boundaries and relationships from the perspective of how your parents sort of play a role in how you see yourself as an adult later on in your life. So from my upbringing, it was sort of toxic. We had one person in the house who had a thunderstorm way of moving around the house, right? And naturally, because of my attachment to this parent, I always felt like I had to fix it. I had to, make sure everything's fine, apologize quickly, and, get it over and done with. So understanding that and seeing it manifest into me growing up into a woman who has her own business and is exploring a whole new country by herself, I found myself almost doing the same in how I attracted people and how I related to people as well. And so yeah, once I figured out that pattern, it was just like, okay, how can I start putting up barriers, not barriers, because barriers is almost like you can't get through it. How can you put up like a protective shield around yourself in ways that can nurture, grow you, but at the same time, allow people in? Because I found that once I realized this issue, the issue that I felt was within myself, I would just start cutting people off. I would just be like, I don't need you, it's fine. I'm moving on. And then I started to realize, okay, so now you're in an island by yourself. You need to do this, that, and that, but there's no one you can really, connect to anymore. You can't relate to this person because you did this or this and that. So I was self-sabotaging my ways in a lot of ways because I was either extreme. It's either I'm not there for you or I'm there for you 100%. So I had to find a way to, well, I still am, because I'm realizing these things in like the past 2 weeks because of lockdown. You know, you've had to introspect, you've had to be aware of the things you're allowing into your life because you can't run away. You can't suddenly go out. You can't, do the
Mhm.
normal things you do to stop thinking about things you usually don't like. Um, so yeah, I had to learn the process of constructive unlearning and starting again, creating new routines. I've recently become so obsessed with working out now again, because it's the one thing that mentally stabilizes me. Um, so yeah, exploring the relationship I had with my dad then and now, because I mean it's Father's Day today.
Mhm.
Something I've never done is wish him happy Father's Day, but like we were all setting up the video call, catching up with him. It's nice to see that full 360 of, okay, there was a problem, we worked through it, and we can finally enjoy being within each other's presence. And
Mhm.
that's something that doesn't happen in African family households.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so, for me, that was a big thing because now suddenly I feel, because I've always had utmost respect for my dad. So I always wanted to be in his best nature, doing whatever he wants me to do, just trying to make someone proud of you. And
Mhm.
once you
Mhm.
start to realize that that's not going to do anything for you if you're not proud about what you're doing for yourself,
Mm.
um, yeah, then that just suddenly I feel a lot more confident in the decisions I'm making. I'm feeling a lot more confident in, if that guy messes up with me, I can just call my daddy, he's gonna soothe my heart or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so yeah, just constructive unlearning, just seeing myself as worthy and allowing people who see me as that as well have more
Mhm.
space in my life versus,
Okay. So
an emergency.
we have someone by the name of, guys, please, if I'm saying your name wrong, if I'm even getting it wrong, please, my sincere apologies to you. So I'm assuming the name is Kejo. He says it's defense mechanisms, Cindy. That's what you were using. You were defending, it's this defense mechanism that comes into play. When you're in
Yeah.
toxic relationships, your defense comes up and you in self mode, you're going to defend and you're going to protect yourself. And sometimes when you go into that mode, you don't realize the people that you surround yourself with. And what happens is that
Mm.
when you surround yourself with these people, something that they do triggers you for what has happened with your dad.
Yeah, and I saw that it used to be
Yeah.
very explosive because I was used to being around a storm. So I would
Yeah.
replicate exactly what I'd see. It's just like, you know, just
Yeah.
craziness.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
usually what happens, when you're in a toxic, home, or whether it's a relationship that you guys are in, and let's say you go around a fire or you with someone and stuff, and one smallest little thing triggers you, it brings you back to that toxic relationship or that environment, and it triggers you. And what happens is that that's when you become very defensive. You put up those boundaries and you don't allow anyone in. And then you
Mm.
relate that person to that toxic environment that you initially, where the memory is serving you from, right?
Mm.
Because that's where you're relating that behavior to, is
Mm.
is is on that. I'm
Mm.
glad that, to your point, you were saying that the how can I say, um, the African culture doesn't take too well with listening to these type of environments. It's same with the Indian culture as well, and I can speak for myself. The Indian culture as well, people, the society dictated, how you look at certain situations, how the toxic environments are played out, how you resolve these type of things. In some families, they don't want to resolve it, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, you're the man of the house, and this is the way that you are storming through, and this is how it's going to move. This is how it is. The woman would sit back and the woman would not say anything. So the mom had to basically obey what has been said or told, and not be able to share, those feelings and those type of things. So I'm glad you're at a better space with your dad. How are the boundaries with your dad, though?
In the sense of?
I mean, obviously you're not living with him now, right?
Oh no, I haven't lived with my parents since I was like 18.
Okay.
So both my parents are in Kenya. They still live in Kenya.
Okay.
So it's just phone calls, video calls. That's just how we stay in contact.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
But I'm assuming that you've gone past, obviously the relationship, and you guys are at a much better space right now.
Yeah. So the reason that relationship really had to work was because I think it was 2017. I was just looking at the type of guys I was attracting and the type of relationship I would end up into. It was always like, I'm using you, you're using me. It's fine. And you tend to forget how exhausting those situations are. So then I just said, you know what, for 2 years, well, I didn't exactly give a timeline. I just said, you know what, I've been bumping into this life coach a bit too often. Maybe the universe is trying to get me to speak to her.
Yeah.
So then I set up a consultation, and we just washed over the stuff, and she kind of saw a trend in how I was thinking. And it sometimes takes someone who doesn't know you to show you your trends without being apologetic about it, because that's something also your friends and family sometimes cannot do for you. So she was just telling me like, ABC, this is what it is. Take it or leave it. So then I worked through that, and then I just started to see changes in myself, my life, my decisions. Everything was just looking better. I was looking healthy, because there was a point where I look back to some photos, I'm just like, you were going through the most. It's okay, we're growing now, so it's fine. So yeah, I mean, boundaries with him, it's just, I think it was important because in the beginning when I approached him, because we had to write a letter or something and read it out to our parents, right? So I did it with my mom, it was easy. She kissed me, it was, fantastic, it was easy. But then getting to him, he was also kind of denying the certain traits he was carrying and the way he would make people feel. So then, being me, I don't give a beep. So I was just like, no, you're gonna hear this from me. The other girls, your other daughters don't want to. It's fine. I'm gonna be the one. So then it took that hard head, because I think the reason him and I collide so much is also because he's raised me to be headstrong. Sometimes I don't think parents understand the values you give your kids and the way you expect them to carry themselves out in the world is how they tend to be in the home as well. So I was very headstrong with him, and I was like, dude, we're gonna figure this out. And eventually, I think it took like 2 years, I'm not gonna lie. Eventually he chose to listen, and we had the conversation, and yeah, since then it's just been easy. I actually look forward to talking to him every time. It's something I never used to want to do. But yeah, it's been interesting.
Well done to you. I mean, listen, they say you can't choose your parents. Yeah? Yeah, you can't choose them, right? All you can do is respect them for who they are. The fact that you was resilient enough to go through the process and to make sure that you said what you needed to say over that 2 years. Well done to you, that you did it for yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not a lot of kids can do that.
No, it was tough. It really was, because he's a headstrong guy. Like I didn't realize that, and I also didn't realize how my other siblings were looking to me to actually get through to him, because I think people had really, really, really tried, and it was just like, we carefully, we just, because his upbringing was also not the best. I think his mom wasn't around, or his mom was terrible to him, and his dad was as well. So he just, I think this is the issue that also Black men face, or just men in general. It's just, you're told this is who you're supposed to be to the world, to yourself, to everyone, no
Yep.
emotion. So that's how he carried himself, always domineering over people. And yeah, to him, it was normal. So also
Yep.
constructive unlearning for him, even at a
No,
later stage in his
absolutely.
life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The
Yeah.
fact that he is where he is right now and you guys are in a better place, it's
Mm,
good for your entire family, especially for your siblings as well.
exactly. Yeah, I see that now.
So
Yeah.
Simbongele says, Cindy, it sounds like you're on a self-love journey. When you're intentional about rediscovering yourself, you'll find space to rediscover others and the dynamics of your personal relationships. All the best on your journey.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any questions for Cindy? Comments?
Yes, Cindy, my question is how do you feel? You know, how is it now with this whole journey
Yeah.
that you're on personally? How do you feel?
Wow, that is an interesting question. I think something people don't speak about on self-love and the journey of it is sometimes it's the ugliest. Have you ever seen yourself like ugly crying in front of a mirror? That's how it feels sometimes. Like your heart is broken. Like it, because you're
Yeah.
literally breaking your heart again, going through all these experiences and saying, okay, that sucked. And also being gentle with yourself. Because then in the beginning when I started, it's that I would feel terrible about something. And then I'll be like, you're such a shitty person, or why did you do that, you know? But then again, it's just like, okay, well, the knowledge you have now is something that's grown through that experience. So just be gentle. You didn't know what you know now. That's why you feel how you feel about it. And it's okay. You are worthy. You have a space in this earth, and don't ever think less of yourself for that. Is what I had to tell myself over and over again. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Cindy. Kosi, over to you.
Okay.
Hey, sorry, man. Mine was intense.
Kosi, do you want
Okay,
to
so
put your volume a little bit loud for me, please? Just a little bit.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've had it rough, like not in terms of relationships, but it all stems from my childhood. I'm not very good at expressing myself, and that was one of the big major issues in my relationships. You know, that I'm not very good at expressing myself, and that came from me. I used to be bullied, and I was bullied for a very long time, and I couldn't tell my parents. I was at boarding school, and that's how I started. By I was a young kid, and I mean, to be honest with you, I've told my friends as well. I'm not ashamed of it. It doesn't make me uncool or not, But I mean, I got into my first relationship in grade 10. You know what I mean? I had my first grade 10 because I was a fat kid. People didn't want me. People used to bully me, it was emotional bullying. And the worst part about it was that I used to listen to what they said.
Okay.
I used to let it hit me. I mean, to make it worse, I'm sure you know by now that Joe and I are very close. So I was there most of the time that he was going through his relationship problems. And he noticed something about me, which was about expressing myself. But he asked me a question once, and it always came about that he'll say that I'm complaining too much about my relationships. You don't come about and say, hey, I did this today. Like I started saying at the beginning of the relationship. It's more, this person, why am I in this relationship? Why am I doing this?
Okay.
Yeah, but he also said to me that you complain a lot, but you don't know, I mean, where does it stem from? Like where are you sure that it doesn't stem from you being the problem? I used to,
Yeah.
me being the problem. I didn't accept that at first because I mean, I've never been able to speak to people. When I'm in relationships, I get into them, making myself a victim. I think because most of the time, and because and we spoke about this the other day, making myself a victim because the first relationship finally, and I'll tell you the only reason why I was accepted by the girl who I asked out was because I had lost weight. She said to me herself, like, wow, and already those things, because I'm that kid who listens to everything that people say, which has always been a weakness for me, I let it slide, but it happened. And I mean, our relationship broke off a few months later when I trusted her. She was the first person I fell in love with. I didn't know what love was. And I mean, I come from I have 4 parents, you see, so I couldn't see love there. They're remarried, but it is what it is. I'm happy with all of them. I love them all. And because of that, I don't know, I mean, what direction to go in. So I thought, I mean, because I'm in a hostel, most of the guys have girlfriends, my older seniors, this is how they treat their girlfriends. Maybe let me try doing this. I didn't have any guidance. I couldn't speak to my parents because I was already not used to asking and speaking. I was used to keeping quiet. And the worst part was the friends I had in my life were also as broken as me. I didn't know that it was an identity crisis, other than not having a backbone. I was friends with people who also made excuses all the time. And then, I mean, it was cool because they always found ways for me to get over it. I'll go drinking, I'll do whatever to get over the situation. But tomorrow I wake up with this problem, and I finally came back to Johannesburg. One thing I never realized, because I don't like accepting it, is that I'm a sucker for love. But the worst part about me being a sucker for love, hence me not being in a relationship for 2 years so far. Just in case you ask me if I'm in a relationship, I haven't been in one since since 2018. Because my mother, I don't cry a lot. I don't like expressing myself to people because I've cried so much from being bullied. You don't know how much I've shed tears, So I didn't know, I come across people as a bully, you know what I mean? Because I was a very angry person. And because I feel like my mom would always send me ask me if I want to see a psychologist. I feel like I'm okay. Why do I need to see a psychologist? Only bearing with the pain, but not accepting that I was going through the problem. And I met someone who, no names mentioned, I dated, I learned a lot from. But in that relationship, this was 2015 at first. And she taught me to love myself. But because I was so used to talking to my friends and I thought my friends were my strength, my what, I believed that, you don't know where else to go. You speak to your friends, they do this, amongst each other, you go and speak to them about everything. And that became a problem too. You don't go, that's, what I talk about now is, I believe you address the situation immediately, obviously in a positive manner, so that you get a positive outcome, and I don't like letting it slide, because if you let it slide, it's gonna happen again and you're gonna end up upset. And I would put myself through that. And with me putting myself through the fact that I was insecure, right? I used to be an insecure guy, and that spoiled my relationships. I was cheated once once by someone who I used to express myself to, share everything with, that I had never done with, and not even my family, people who trusted me. And then I told her everything, and she cheated on me over stupid reasons, and I trusted her. So I felt like, I'm angry. It feels like whatever I do, whatever I try and do, invest in a relationship, I'm still always getting the short end of the stick. I'm still always being treated like, And because I was used to being lonely, I used to think that loneliness was a negative thing. And I was going through a crisis and all that, and I would end up rushing into relationships without learning about the person, getting to know who the person was. There weren't any boundaries. We rushed into all that because we were just excited to get into it. Then we were both, we started realizing that you know, we could have done this like at a later stage. But remember, because I'm so used to being alone, and I thought that being alone was a negative thing. I let that happen. I was just like, you know what, like, why you could do? What can you do? You know, I see you shaking your head, like, but what could you do? Until I realized that I messed up. I was going out of character, doing things that I wasn't supposed to do. Instead of talking to the girl I love so much and share how I feel so we can fix things, I'd go and try and make her feel the same way, you know. And that's because it came from the friends that I had in the past. They didn't think straight as well. And I listened to them. I have a backbone, you know, and I lost those relationships blaming myself. And I finally went to my mother. That's the first time I've ever shed a tear like that, you know. And I went into her lap and I said, Mom, she was even surprised, like, okay, you know, but I was like, Mom, what is it that I'm doing wrong? You know, I try and do what I can with what I have, you know, and it seems like it's, you know, and like, that's the number one problem. That there's not one time you come to me and tell me that I'm the problem. And yeah.
Is that what your mom said to you?
And then since 2018, ask Joe, I went to him that day and I said, yo, you know, and from that day, I told myself, you know what, okay, I broke up with my ex-girlfriend. I'm not gonna rush or do whatever it is, rush into a relationship or something because I'm being lonely now, I'm gonna be alone. You know, that's gonna be the case forever. And now, oh, am I going too far?
No.
I'm almost done. Sorry about that.
No, carry on. Listen, you have the space. Yeah. Please don't. I mean, you need to say what you need to say.
No, I understand, you know, and you see, it's even hard now. I know these guys, Cindy and Joe, are looking at me because they're like, this guy's never said this before, you know, but like, yeah, I just feel like, because it's also because I'm one of the older guys out of my friendship circle. So I don't like coming across as weak, you know. I've seen how it is when people take advantage of me, when they see my weaknesses, when I come across as and trusting them as much, going out of my way to do what I have to so that I know this person's gonna stay. Another thing about my relationships was I was too scared to lose these people. You know, it made me look like a fool. And then I realized as well that I hurt these people in return, which is not what I intended to do. But I feel better now because I mean, I've gone and apologized to the exes I hurt, you know, just to come to like have closure, you know, and for them to have closure. And I told myself from that day in 2018 when I was single, and I was like, you know what, this is where I'm going to take this turn and actually figure myself out. And I accepted that I have an identity crisis. I need to focus on my character, you know, and I've been focusing on my character ever since. I mean, I got a car as well. Soon I'm focused. All I'm doing now is getting an apartment, but I'm not in a rush until I graduate, you know. And it just seems like focusing on yourself. And from what you said earlier on, you said something about loving people more to love yourself. If I had seen someone say that at the time where I had loved people more, but seen it as a negative form, but with a smile, the way you smiled when you said that, then I would have done it the way it should have been done, you know?
Yeah.
But I thought loving people just means doing what you have to make them trust you, even though they're gonna hurt you, you know? And I hurt them. But anyway, besides that, I've come to terms with myself now. I'm happy in life. The only problem is I don't know how to get in a relationship now. It's been long, you know. I told myself, like, take a break, but now I don't know how to get out of that break, you know.
Can I ask you something? So saying what you've just said now, okay, I want you to acknowledge something. How brave you are to come into this platform and just acknowledge and said what you just said. Okay? That alone in its right, you are brave enough to do what you just did. Okay? Being bullied is not something to be taken lightly. Okay? No. If I've just heard what you've just said now, a lot of the insecurity that you have been feeling over time is stemming from that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna ask you, right? Have you dealt with the bullying? Okay, that's a no. The fact that you're thinking about it and haven't reacted immediately to it tells me that you haven't dealt with the bullying, right? I'm just gonna ask you one more question. Do you think you're ready for a relationship?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've never been this ready for a relationship. You know, when you second guess yourself sometimes. Now I don't second guess. But I'm not in a rush to be in a relationship. I am ready, but I'm not in a rush. I guess.
So so you have a lot of things that's going on with you still. You're dealing with a lot still. From what it sounds like, you're still going through the process. I'm gonna speak a little bit from experience, right? Be patient with yourself. You have to take the time, and you have to take, you know, when you're being real with yourself, you need to be patient with yourself in order to go through the process. And Joe is just shaking his head, right? and the reason why I'm saying this, so I want, before I go into this, I want to mention what Kheko is saying again. He says, Kosi, your honesty speaks volumes and respect. How have people that have hurt you react to your growth? So he's asking you a question. How have people that you've hurt you reacted to your growth? So you mentioned that you went back to some of your ex-girlfriends and you've apologized to them. What was the reactions from seeing what you've done? Hey?
The reaction to the glow up.
How was the reaction? So that's what he wants to know. How was the reaction?
Funny enough, because I was actually shaking, like, shucks, you know, I'm actually it actually ended up good. Like they actually, I've only come to bad terms with one ex, but she's just disrespectful, so I don't talk to her. But the ones who I felt were the love of my lives at the stage that I was in as well, I went back to.
Okay. And they've accepted
they accepted it. They did.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Did they mention anything about, you know, how you've grown or anything like that, to that perspective?
From what they see, because I'm very quiet. I'm not one of those guys who now, what I used to believe in as well, because I was flawed, was revenge is the best success.
Okay. So Christine says, Kosi, wow, thank you for sharing as you have. I think you have a very bright future ahead of you, in all ways. For now, be patient. For now, be patient. You are strong, you are courageous, you are brave, you are amazing. Wow, what words, Christine. Thank you so much for that. Keko also says, yes, truly, you speak so many who have chosen to suffer in silence. And, you know, very profound, Keko, that you're saying that, because open mic is about breaking through that silence. It's for having this platform for people like you to speak out to that, right? It's very encouraging, and knowing that you can come here and say what you say, and to say your truth, right? Because that's what you're doing. You are saying your truth. Nicole is also online, and she says, I'm proud of you for opening up. This is just the beginning for you, going on a better path and growing as a person. Simbongele says, bless you, Kosi. Thanks for sharing your story on your journey with your history in relationships. Have you learned to set boundaries and expectations, Simbongele?
Like, I don't know. Can I ask if what you guys think on setting boundaries at the beginning of the relationship?
Your volume is a bit low.
Relationship, or do you think you set the boundaries through learning what?
Kosi, your microphone is a bit low.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay,
sorry about that. Now, I wanted to ask, can you hear me properly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can hear you now.
I was asking, is it healthy to set boundaries at the beginning of a relationship, or do you think you set the boundaries towards, I mean, when you learn what your faults are within a relationship and how you guys can compromise?
Wait, can I answer? I don't know.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I've always felt that the boundaries at the beginning of the relationship will never be the same boundaries at the end, assuming it does end, but they do continue to evolve and adapt. So I think starting a relationship with boundaries helps because you know the things that that you identify with from a values point of view, and something that's very easy to communicate. And from there, the conversation now starts with regards to how those boundaries grow and adapt and change as you learn more about each other. As you, I guess, discover how the human being is. Obviously, not everybody's face value. I don't think anyone can be taken for face value, but I think underneath, yeah, I think starting boundaries at the beginning of the relationship is crucial to getting to a common ground. And yeah.
So, Joe, I hope the ladies are listening because you're so ready for a relationship, dude. You've grown so much. I think, and to Joe's point, right? When you enter relationships, it's really not about setting those fast and putting that stake in the ground and saying this is how it is, and no, it's not what it is. It's relationships is about flexibility. You need to accommodate people for who they are. You also need to adapt them to see where the relationship is going to as well. But it's also for you to get to know a person for who they are. Okay. Mm-hmm. You also don't want to control people. Boundaries about understanding, where do you draw the line with somebody? You don't want to overstep your mark. You don't want to, disrespect somebody if knowing that this is what makes you feel the way that you are. You haven't answered Simbongeli's questions. Have you learned to set boundaries and expectations?
Sorry about that. I have learned. In terms of relationships, I haven't been in a relationship since 2018, so that I can't speak about. But in terms of my friends, they know that we've got boundaries. We've set those boundaries. We've been the best of friends ever since, And one of the main important things that we focus on is being honest to each other. Something happens, someone else is going to be honest with you. We're with each other every day. So rather you hear the hard truth from me than hear it from, and that's taught us to be closer. And other than that, I've learned. Thank you for asking the question.
Okay. So Simbongeli says, set them at the beginning. It's about how you communicate them and acknowledging that the boundaries are never, they never set in stone. Simbongeli is also saying, Kosi, she did a talk last week or the week before. She says, listen to her talk. She says, love rooted in self. It's on YouTube. It's on the group as well. She said, go and have a listen to it and see. I think, Kosi, sometimes I always believe, whether it's relationships, whether it's kids, whether it's spouses, whether it's business. I mean, Joe, you're going into business right now as an entrepreneur, you're setting it up. The one common thing amongst everything that we do, we feel, we sense, we empathize, all of those things. If you don't understand who you are, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't explore who you are, if you don't give it everything that you have for you, you're never ever going to move forward in terms of relationships, in terms of marriage, in terms of business, in terms of anything that you do. What you believe in, if you believe in yourself soul-heartedly, it's a reflection of wherever you go. The relationships that you have, the relationships that you share, the businesses that you start will have that inner love and inner power that you have within yourself. And when you have that in yourself, It's a reflection of whatever you touch, whatever you feel, whatever you see, whatever you hear. Make sense?
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I got into my last relationship as I started working, and I found that the values that I guess was building on and learning about was strongly influenced by the work environment I was in, and it carried through essentially. And that picture has essentially shown me that there is work and home life, but you're the human that goes through it all. And you know, you need to kind of find some balance in between, but it's yeah, I 100% agree.
And the thing is that if you're not comfortable with yourself, and if you're not comfortable with who you are, no one else is going to accept you, because it starts with all within yourself. It starts whether you create a business, whether you buy a house, whether you buy a car, whether you get involved in a relationship, whether you find a marriage, a spouse that's there for you. It all starts with yourself. If you cannot accept who you are, if you don't believe in who you are, if you don't reflect in through your studies and how you want to evolve into the world, you will never ever be able to find out what your true potential is unless you start with yourself.
Yeah.
Open mic,
no.
and I'm going to give you an example, right? Open mic for me is not my business. Open mic for me is my purpose. My purpose to meet beautiful people like you and give you a sense of worthy and give you a sense of place to have your space to say what you need to say. Yeah?
Yeah, no,
It's a total.
it's a
Sorry,
different,
Joe?
it's a very
different
different
feeling.
driving force.
It is.
It's something that gears you in ways that I never thought I would ever be in this position today.
Absolutely.
But that self-understanding grew me light years away, and I still can't believe it. But yeah, no, I 100%, you're preaching to the gospel.
Oh, absolutely, right? And you know why I'm saying this to you. Let me tell you why I'm saying this to you, right? And why I mentioned open mic. I will change the world.
Yes,
because
man.
that's what I believe I'm going to do. I am going to make a difference, and I am going to make sure that stories that I've been told is being heard, and that's the change I'm going to make. Because when you solely heartily believe that the change with you that's going to transform the lives of other people, that's the difference that you're going to see.
True.
And it's funny that you say that. I love the whole concept of giving to other people, because
absolutely. Joe, I believe I'm of service to others.
Yeah, I believe it makes you feel a whole lot better when you are accountable, when you are reliable, when you do deliver. I mean, the notion that, I guess, making your bed sets you up for the rest of the day kind of follows that sentiment. But yeah. That's all I had.
So Kosi, I mean, I've said a lot of things, and I said, and the reason why I'm saying this to you is because I believe, I'm confident I can change the world. I can make the difference because I am doing it. Having you guys on here is telling me that I have. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah? Exactly. Yeah. And I can guarantee you, right? What you've just said right now, all four of you, what you've just said and related to other people. The people that are going to watch this are going to shake their heads exactly to what you guys have been doing throughout this entire conversation, because you're not the only one that experienced what you've experienced. Yeah? You're not the only one that has been through what you have. And that is why sharing your stories to people is very, very important. If you can inspire one person through what you've been going through, of what you've experienced, or the challenge that you faced, and just touch one person, that at whole is that experience of fulfillment inside of you.
Yeah, no, I really, you were saying?
Go for it. Go for it.
Oh, no, I wanted to say that just, I guess, going off of what you just said, and from an environmental point of view, and everybody around you and the people you engage with, that ability to give, that ability to understand what someone else needs, because they are different things. It's now something that I enjoy doing, and I've brought into my job a lot, because from an advertising point of view, you understand people. So the process of meeting someone has become a whole lot different for me now, because I have a lot more questions, and I am a lot more curious, and I do want to know more about your life and the ups and downs and the in-betweens. And that has not only done good for other people from an outside point of view, but done more for myself, because I've drawn inspiration, and I've drawn insights about myself that I've used for other things or in other ways. And it's been an experience that I'm still, I guess, trying to grasp, because as new people, you learn different things about yourself. It's exciting. It's exciting, but it's scary. Just considering our age, because we do try to become independent, and we forget that we need to speak and talk to other people and have relationships. Especially, I guess, at my age, I can only speak for myself, I guess. But it took a lot to understand that my independence doesn't mean I don't have people around me. It doesn't have I don't have people who love me. And that was a very powerful thing for me to, I guess, grasp, because it's one thing to say, but to do and to truly understand it is something different.
100%.
Thank you so much, guys. I mean, listen, we all go through our moments, and we all go through our challenges, and we all go through our fears. At the end of it, it's what we make out of it, and how do we move forward from what we've learned throughout our lives. So, guys, it's been a phenomenal talk. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. It's been amazing. What I do, and open mic, and all the people that have joined, I hope you stay on. If there's any way that open mic can help you, if you want to connect with speakers, if you want to connect and collaborate with people that's on the group, share your thoughts, share your opinions, get the people going. If you guys want to talk again onto open mic, the platform's here for you. I want to say thank you so much for coming on, sharing your stories with us. It has been quite an inspiring talk from you guys, and I've learned so much from you as well. It's nice to hear what people go through, no matter what age you are, because I can tell you, every single story that you guys have shared, I can relate to something about it. And that's what makes it absolutely so inviting for people to come out and to share what they've been through. As much as we hold everything and we keep it to ourselves, we need to inspire other people that is going through the same thing, and maybe there's something that you guys can help them with, right? So yeah, I must say as well, the people that we surround ourselves with is the people that's going to embrace us more, the people that's going to help us to move forward, and the people that we have around us make a very big difference in our lives. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. I look forward to more collaborations with you guys. I want you to take care of yourselves, be safe, and looking forward to more collaborations. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Ciao, guys. Bye.